Welcome back to the channel. Guess what I was researching today? Household cleaning products. You'll find out why in the video. Case number 1. The self-made gas chamber meets Celia Seymour. Celia woke up one fine morning and said, "Today is the day. Today this bathroom gets annihilated." Admirable dedication. Truly, the kind of motivation most of us save for New Year's resolutions we abandon by January 4th. Now here's where it gets spicy. Celia, a woman of ambition, decided that regular cleaning products were for quitters. Why use one when you can combine two for double the power, right? She grabbed her household bleach, the kind with chlorine, and her toilet bowl cleaner, the kind with ammonia. And she went full mad scientist on that bathroom. Here's the thing they don't teach you in school, but probably should. Chlorine plus ammonia equals chloramine gas. That's not a new cleaning product. That's a chemical weapon, like the actual kind. Used in actual wars, by actual armies trying to actually kill people. Celia passed out. The bathroom she was trying to save became the thing that ended her. She died in hospital from severe chemical burns to her lungs and a fatal asthma attack triggered by inhaling a substance that militaries consider a war crime. The lesson here? Sometimes good enough is good enough. The toilet does not need to be a mirror. Let it be slightly gross. It's a toilet. Nobody is eating off it. And if they are, you have bigger problems than cleaning supplies. Also, please read the labels. That little warning that says do not mix with other chemicals isn't a suggestion from a bored guy at the factory. It's a genuine cry for help from someone who foresaw exactly this situation. Case number 2. The ladder, the line, and the lesson nobody needed to learn. Now we head to a 2-story house somewhere in the world, where a guy decided to paint his own home. Totally reasonable. Home improvement, self-sufficiency, very American energy, even if this particular guy might not have been American. The spirit was there. He gets the whole front of the house done. He's feeling great, probably mentally calculating how much money he just saved. He's already spending it in his head. New TV, nice dinner, maybe a little weekend trip. Life is good. And then he decides to move his ladder to the other side of the yard. Here's the critical detail. The ladder was aluminum, and it was extended. And he did not bother to collapse it before carrying it across the yard. And above the yard, quietly doing its thing, was a high-voltage power line. You can see where this is going. The ladder touched the cable, and that was it. Game over. No new TV, no dinner, no weekend trip. Now look, electricity does not mess around. High-voltage lines carry enough current to vaporize your bad decisions along with everything else. Aluminum, being a metal, conducted that electricity directly through the ladder, through the man holding it, and into the ground. The worst part, and this is genuinely maddening, all he had to do was fold the ladder down. That's the one move. The ladder folds. That's literally its whole design. It's called an extension ladder because it extends and then it unextends. It takes about 15 seconds. 15 seconds that would have saved his life. But no, he chose the speedrun route. And this is the ending you get with that strategy. Case number 3. The apartment that became a bomb for no good reason. Oh, this one. I need everyone to take a breath before we proceed, because what I'm about to describe requires a moment of preparation. A man was renovating his apartment. Old linoleum flooring, glued down solid to the concrete. Classic nightmare. If you've ever tried to remove old stuck-down flooring, you know the kind of hatred it inspires. You pry at it, it laughs at you. You scrape, it mocks you. It has been there for 40 years, and it intends to stay for 40 more. So he asked around, and someone whose name we should all like to know, suggested pour gasoline on it to dissolve the adhesive. And this man, faced with a floor that had beaten him, thought, you know what? That tracks. He poured gasoline. A lot of it. Generously. Enthusiastically. The floor was soaked. The apartment smelled like a gas station at this point. What should have been, at minimum, a yellow flag, Ideally, a red one. And really more of a siren with flashing lights and a guy in a hazmat suit yelling, "Get out." But the thing about gasoline vapor is that you can't always see it. It spreads invisibly, low to the ground, filling the room, creeping into the next room and the next one, silently making its way to the kitchen, where the refrigerator was running. Now, refrigerators have compressors. Compressors have relays. Relays produce sparks. Small sparks, tiny, barely noticeable sparks that under normal circumstances do absolutely nothing except run your fridge. But gasoline vapor isn't normal circumstances. Gasoline vapor is a party waiting for one single invitation, and the compressor relay sent it. The resulting explosion blew out every window in the apartment. The man did not survive. The floor, ironically, probably still had linoleum on it. There are rental services. There are floor scrapers. There are professionals who remove flooring for a living using tools that do not involve one of the most flammable substances on Earth. There's even a YouTube tutorial for literally every home improvement task imaginable. Every single one. Except apparently how not to explode your apartment, because that one was assumed to be self-evident? It was not self-evident? Case number 4. The man who turned his water heater into a rocket. A man had a broken water heater. Did he call a plumber? No. Plumbers cost money. He was a capable adult male. How hard could it be? He replaced the thermostat himself. Good start, technically. But he wired it wrong, specifically in a way that bypassed the pressure relief valve. Now, the pressure relief valve is not optional equipment. It is not decorative. It is the one thing standing between hot water and improvised explosive device. It exists for one purpose: to release pressure before the tank reaches levels that physics no longer tolerates. Without it, the water heater just kept heating, and kept heating, and kept heating. The water boiled, steam built up, pressure climbed. The tank, a metal cylinder full of superheated steam, had nowhere to release it. A few hours later, the boiler went full rocket. The explosion was catastrophic. The water heater punched through the ceiling of the first floor, through the actual concrete and structure of the house, into the second floor, where the man was sleeping. He did not wake up to see what had happened, which in some morbid way might be the kindest thing about this entire story. It's worth noting that water heater explosions are violent enough to have launched tanks through the roofs of houses in documented cases. This is not a slow, polite failure. This is a pressure vessel becoming a projectile. It is, mechanically speaking, a rocket. An unguided, house-penetrating rocket that cost you about $40 in parts and one very bad afternoon of DIY work. The plumber would have cost maybe $200, maybe $3, which, compared to the cost of a new ceiling, a new second floor, a funeral, and the existential horror your family would carry forever, is, in retrospect, an absolute bargain. Case number 5. The garage spring that had absolutely zero chill. Let's talk about garage door springs for a second, because most people go their entire lives without ever thinking about them, which is honestly the correct approach. They're up there, they're doing their job, and the relationship works best when it stays completely one-sided. Here's what you need to understand about torsion springs. The big horizontal spring sitting above your garage door. That thing is under an almost incomprehensible amount of tension. We're talking about a coiled metal rod that's been wound so tight it contains enough stored energy to do serious damage if it ever decides to let go all at once. Engineers who work with these things use specialized steel winding bars, wear safety glasses, and treat the whole process with the kind of respect normally reserved for unexploded ordnance. Our guy decided a regular screwdriver would do. Now, I want you to really picture this. He's standing in front of the spring, screwdriver in hand, poking at a mechanism that is essentially a compressed metal explosion waiting for an excuse. The screwdriver slips. The spring unwinds in a fraction of a second, faster than a human nerve can process, faster than an eye can blink, and the metal hardware attached to it becomes a projectile moving at genuinely terrifying speed. It struck him in the skull. He did not survive. The specialized winding bars cost about $15 on Amazon. 15. That's what, 3 coffees? 2 beers? 1 mediocre fast food combo meal? The tools exist specifically because this exact scenario has happened enough times that someone sat down and designed a safer way to do it. But sure, screwdriver. That works too. Right up until it spectacularly, catastrophically doesn't. Case number 6. Moss on a roof. The eternal enemy of homeowners everywhere. It sits up there, green and smug, slowly eating through your shingles, and at some point you look at it and think, enough. Today, we settle this. The professional approach involves calling someone, paying them, and watching from ground level while they handle it with proper equipment, safety harnesses, and the general attitude of people who would like to go home at the end of the day. Our homeowner went a different direction. He was going to save money. He was going to get up there himself with a pressure washer, and he was going to end that moss. Now, let's do a quick physics rundown because this is genuinely instructive. A steep roof is already slippery. Add moisture to it, and it gets worse. Add a pressure washer actively blasting water at the surface you're standing on while simultaneously blasting loose the mossy layer that was, ironically, providing some grip. And you have created what engineers would call a frictionless inclined plane. What normal people would call an absolutely perfect slide. He slipped. No harness, no rope. Nothing between him and the ground except air and a rapidly shrinking distance. He landed headfirst on the concrete path below. Here's the thing about pressure washers that people tend to forget when they take them onto roofs. The recoil. These things push back. Every time you pull that trigger, physics sends an equal and opposite force straight into your body. On flat ground, manageable. On a wet sloped roof with no anchor point, it's basically a machine designed to push you off the edge. A safety harness, the kind you clip to your belt and attach to an anchor on the roof, costs about 30 bucks. 30. You could find one at any hardware store between the paint section and wherever they keep the stuff that definitely won't kill you if you use it correctly. He had a pressure washer, which was like 60 times more expensive. He just skipped the $30 part that keeps you on the roof. The moss, for the record, is probably still there. Case number 7. The tree that Reed Newton, and he did not this one, requires a brief physics lesson. But don't worry, it's the fun kind, where the physics lesson is illustrated by a pickup truck and a dead tree becoming a medieval siege weapon. A man had a dead tree in his backyard. Dry, brittle, leaning slightly, generally being an eyesore. He wanted it gone. Professional tree removal services exist. They are licensed. They have chainsaws and ropes and years of experience predicting exactly how a tree will fall before they make the first cut. They are also admittedly not free. So he improvised. He tied a thick cable to the top of the tree. Other end went to the trailer hitch on his pickup truck. The plan was elegant in its simplicity. Gun it, cable goes taut, tree gets yanked over, tree falls away from truck. Everybody wins. Except, trees are not cooperative participants in this kind of plan. When he floored it, the tree broke at the base, right at ground level, which is the weakest point which he would have known if he'd consulted literally anyone who removes trees professionally. And here's where Newton enters the chat. A tree breaking at the base, while under tension from a cable attached above its center of mass, does not fall away from the cable. It pivots. It swings. The cable becomes the arm of a catapult. The base of the tree becomes the fulcrum. And the entire massive crown of the dead tree goes exactly the direction that basic physics says it has to go. Straight back toward whatever is pulling the cable, the tree came down directly on top of his truck. Through the roof of the cab. He was inside the cab. There are so many moments in the story where someone could have said, wait, actually, and changed the outcome. Calling a tree service, using a longer cable, standing outside the truck, thinking for 30 seconds about what happens when a cable attached to the top of something pulls that something toward the ground and what direction it might swing. Any one of those thoughts. Just one. That's all it would have taken. But look, Hindsight is 2020. Foresight in this case only required about a fourth grade understanding of levers and pivots. But still, point taken. Case number 8. Now, you might be thinking, didn't we already cover the flammable vapors plus ignition source equals catastrophe scenario? Back with the gasoline floor guy? We did. And yet, here we are again. Because apparently this is a lesson that a measurable percentage of the human population needs to encounter multiple times before it sticks. Actually, scratch that. For some of them, it never sticks. Evidently, a homeowner was refinishing the floor in a small bathroom. No windows, no ventilation. He was using a flammable solvent-based sealant, the kind that comes with warnings on the label, warnings on the can, and warnings in the fine print that you'd see if you ever bothered to read it, which, as we firmly established, is not everyone's strong suit. Solvent-based products release vapors as they dry. Those vapors are heavier than air, which means they sink. They fill the room from the bottom up, quietly, invisibly, accumulating in the corners and spreading across the floor like a lake of invisible gasoline. In a small, unventilated room, this happens fast. Faster than most people expect. And on the wall of this small, unventilated bathroom hung a gas water heater with a pilot light. A pilot light is, in the simplest possible terms, a small open flame that burns continuously. It does not turn off between uses. It does not know that someone is filling the room next to it with explosive vapor. It just burns, reliably and faithfully like it was designed to do, completely indifferent to the chemistry happening 3 feet away. The vapors reached the pilot light. The result was a vapor cloud explosion. The same mechanism as the gasoline apartment, the same physics, the same outcome, a pressure wave that destroyed the bathroom and killed the man inside it. Here is what kills me about this one, and I mean that metaphorically. Unlike our subject here, gas water heaters with pilot lights are required by code to have that burner up off the floor, specifically because flammable vapors sink. There are regulations about installing ignition sources in rooms where flammable materials might be used. These rules were written by people who looked at exactly this category of disaster and said, okay, let's make sure this never happens again. And then he used a flammable sealant in a room with an open flame with no ventilation and closed the door. If you're doing any kind of floor refinishing, painting, or solvent-based anything indoors, open every window, run a fan, turn off pilot lights, and maybe, just for the duration of the project, take a moment to read the warning label on the can. It's not long. It uses simple words, and it will almost certainly include the phrase, use only in well-ventilated areas, because that phrase exists specifically for this exact situation. The floor did not need to be sealed that badly. No floor does. These weren't bad people. They weren't reckless thrill seekers jumping out of planes for fun. They were regular folks, painting their houses, cleaning their bathrooms, fixing their floors, who just had a little too much faith in their own improvisation skills and a little too little respect for chemistry, electricity, gravity, and basic physics. The universe doesn't grade on effort. It doesn't care that you were trying to save money. It doesn't give partial credit for good intentions. It just enforces the rules. Every time, without exception, with zero sense of humor about it. So the next time you're standing in front of a project and you think, how hard could it be? Maybe just pause for 1 second. Ask yourself, is there a reason professionals exist for this? Is there a warning label I haven't read? Is there a pilot light in the room I'm about to fill with flammable vapor? If the answer to any of those is yes, call somebody. Your ego will recover. The ceiling won't. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and please stay alive until the next one. We genuinely need the views.